church?
Amen.
Before I start, I want to give a brief testimony. I want to thank God for giving me another opportunity. I want to thank God for my grandparents, pastor and first lady of this church.
Amen.
My lesson for tonight is humility. In other words, less of you and more of the Most High God.
Amen.
When you accomplish something or get out of a tight situation, what is your first thought? I worked hard and now I'm out? Wrong. You worked hard and by the grace of God you're out. See, we as Christians need to understand that we can accomplish nothing without the help of God.
Amen.
We're so busy with self-praise that God doesn't get any. We're told in the book of Exodus that God is a jealous God, and he acts with vengeance against those who praise where praise is not due, and those who do not praise where praise is due. In the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar had mistaken self-praise for God's praise. Go with me to the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verses 28 to 34. Same name you have it. And it reads, verse 28. All this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" Even as the words were on his lips, a voice came from heaven. "This is what I decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone who he wishes." Immediately what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. Nebuchadnezzar believed that he had done his works in the name of the Lord, but he had only done them for personal fame and accomplishment. In a Peanuts cartoon, Linus tells Charlie Brown, "When I get big, I'm going to be a humble little country doctor. I'll live in the city, see, and every morning I'll get up, climb into my sports car, and zoom around the country. Then I'll start healing people. I'll heal people for miles around." In the last frame, he exclaims, "I'll be a world-famous, humble little country doctor." Charles Schultz, the cartoonist, was making a joke about how difficult it is for us to be humble. We may start out with the goal of being a humble little whatever, but before we know it, we're into being a world-famous humble little whatever. This connects to King Nebuchadnezzar because he believed his intentions were of God, but they were really for personal gain. The story of John the Baptist also holds a major key on the topic of humility. I won't go into the whole story of John, but in a nutshell, he and Jesus were both heads of influential ministries. And so at one point, John's followers became jealous of Jesus' success. They came to John saying that the Baptist ministries were being eclipsed by that of Jesus. John, however, knew his place. He told them, "I must decrease so he may increase." John hit the nail right on the head in saying this because humility stems from knowing who God is and who we are. John the Baptist clearly understood God's sovereignty, who Jesus is and who he was. So he didn't have inflated views of himself. He wasn't out to build his self-esteem or to promote his own ministry or reputation. His aim was to exalt Jesus, the Most High God. In the book of Matthew 23, 10 through 12, it says, "Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even the Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be humbled, and whosoever shall humble himself shall be exalted." I remember a time, bear with me because this is a little childish, that I was playing a video game with my cousins. I was winning the game by a long shot. There was no way I could lose. It was sort of like a board game kind of thing, and I was ahead by like 40 spaces. I got super excited and started sort of bashing on my cousins. I was saying things like, "You can't beat me," or "I'm too good." In other words, exalting myself. Not even a minute went by. But in that minute, the worst chain of events took place, and suddenly there was no way I could win. Now I know you're probably thinking, why is he telling us a story about a video game right now? I told you that story to demonstrate that even in the smallest situations, self-praise is the wrong praise. Philippians 3:3 reads, "For it is we who serve God by his Spirit, who boast in Christ Jesus, and who put no confidence in the flesh." Thank you. That's what I have.